Good morning, everybody. This video is to go over the King Henry worksheet, just to kind of go over that from yesterday. So we'll review some answers yourself here, hopefully with this video, and we'll get to kind of go over this. So in this first section, the instructions were basically, you're given this brief history on the metric system, and then it's saying, you think of your King Henry chart. So King Henry died, belly up, drinking chocolate milk. And think about what the most appropriate unit would be for each of the measure each of those given things. Okay, keeping in mind that things like length is measured in meters, which would be kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters. Capacity or volume is going to be in liters. Again, same prefixes, just with liters. And then your mass or weight of things is going to be in grams. Again, using the exact same prefixes. Okay, so for the first one, the height of a door, we talked a little bit in class about, estimating things. And for a meter, I gave the estimate of it's about the length of a baseball bat. So if you think of the height of a door, that's about like 2 baseball bats. So I'd say, well, it's probably around 2 meters. For the distance you walk in a few minutes, we could argue you're walking pretty briskly, pretty fast. You could maybe go 1 kilometer, but it's more likely that you went a couple, like 2 or 3 hectometers, which is a tenth of a kilometer. Again, just depending on how fast you're walking, maybe even said, 3. For the distance across an ocean, you're definitely going to be talking about using kilometers, and you're talking, thousands of kilometers. So the kilometer is the largest unit in the metric system for length. So sometimes it takes a lot of them because it's not quite a mile. But again, if you're looking like on a map measuring across an ocean, yeah, you're definitely using kilometers or kilometers. The mass of a few grains of sand. Now we're talking about mass. So it's going to be a gram measurement. And in this case, we're going to be using milligrams. The mass of your head. Again, the human head weighs around like 8 pounds or so in standard units. So if we're talking about something that we're weighing in pounds, we're going to be using kilograms to weigh that, because a kilogram is about 2 pounds, give or take. It's about the weight of, like a heavy fruit or something like that. It's just shy of 2 pounds, but that's about where it is. So if we're talking about the weight of something like your head, yeah, we're going to be measuring that in kilograms. The length of a yo-yo string, you could use really any unit to measure that, except of course the larger ones. But if you're talking about like it's 1 of something or maybe 2 of something, you're thinking 1 meter. Maybe you could say it's a couple decimeters, depending on how long the yo-yo string is. The amount of liquid in an eyedropper. Now we're talking about capacity, so we're going to be measuring in liters. Specifically, we're going to be talking about milliliters for liquid in an eyedropper. Anything that's like a few drops, that's going to be milliliters. Same thing with the liquid medicine in a teaspoon. Maybe we could make the argument for centiliters, just depending on, because you're talking about how large a teaspoon is. It's going to be more than just a few drops. So we could say centiliters for that. The amount of medicine in 1 aspirin. In this case, when we talk about amounts of medicine, and you can check this the next time you take any sort of medication, look at the bottle. It's going to measure that amount in grams in terms of weight. Okay, specifically, it's going to be talking about milligrams. The amount of water in a children's pool. Again, we're talking about something in liters, but we're not just going to say a liter, because a liter is like, a smaller soda bottle. It's going to take a lot of those to fill up a kiddie pool. So maybe we go a little bit bigger, specifically talking about like a deciliter, maybe even a hectoliter, depending on the size of the kiddie pool. All right. For the next part, all you're doing is you're circling one of the 3 choices that makes the most sense. So for number 11, it's talking about the amount of orange juice in a small drinking glass. Would that be 3 milliliters? 3 deciliters or 3 deciliters. Well, we talked about deciliters and how that's like the amount of water in a kid's pool. So unless you really like orange juice and you're breaking some kind of world record, you're probably not going to be drinking 3 deciliters of orange juice. Same thing with milliliters. That's a couple drops. So really the one that makes the most sense here is the deciliter. For the mass of a kitten, we have 0.75 milligrams, 0.75 centigrams, and 0.75 kilograms. The important part here is the 0.75. 0.75 milligrams would be less than the weight of a paperclip. That's a pretty tiny kitten. And even centigrams, you're still talking about something that would weigh as much as like your pinky. Still not a whole lot. The only one that really makes sense here is saying 0.75 kilograms. Next, the width of this worksheet. Well, depending on what device you're looking on and at, if it's electronic, you know, that may vary, but think about a standard sheet of paper, you know, something that's about this wide. I'm holding up here. You can see in my tiny little corner of the screen. That's going to be, you know, about a foot. It's a little less than a foot. It's 11 inches is the standard, you know, 8.5 by 11 inches. But if we're talking about that in terms of units in the metric system, 21.4 millimeters, that's going to be maybe about that wide. Very, very tiny, maybe an inch or two. 10 times that is going to be 21.4 centimeters. Hey, that makes a little more sense. Also, if you remember, we talked about how hectometers is, you know, about like the length of a school bus. So yeah, the worksheet's not going to be the length of 21 school buses. Distance across a fishing pond in a friend's backyard. Is it going to be 8 decameters, 8 hectometers, or 8 kilometers? 8 kilometers wouldn't be a pond. That would be like an ocean or a lake, you know, a huge body of water. 8 decameters would be, you know, think 8 meters, it would be 10 times that. So maybe about 80 meters, give or take. 8 hectometers would again be pretty big. That would be even larger. That would be 10 times larger than that. So that would be like 8,000 meters. So again, that's pretty big. That's like you're approaching lake size. But decameters, absolutely, that makes sense. Lastly, the amount of water in a fishing pond. So now we talked about the distance about that fishing pond, how it's about 8 decameters. But how much water would be in there? Well, think of the size of that fishing. We're not talking about like a decorative koi pond in a backyard that's like a couple feet across, maybe an inch or two, or a couple inches deep. No, we're talking about like a large pond, like in a farm or somewhere that, you know, has a lot of water in it. So milliliters, definitely not. And even liters, you know, 800 liters, that would be like 400 soda, 2-liter soda bottles. The one that makes the most sense here is 800 kiloliters, definitely. So that's pretty much it. That's going over this worksheet. Hopefully you're able to change and fix a few things if you were a little confused, not quite understanding. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, email, or you know, see me in person. So I hope that this was informative for you. And like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.